Alright, so apparently you can put 3 video cards in this thing. I think it'd almost be funny to put all 3 of these XFX cards in here. That's a 1 gigabyte, 1 gigabyte, and this is 2. These, um, this is a ATI. I don't know what the other ones are. Like, I think they're, are they NVIDIA? I don't know. And let's pull it out. I'm trying to find a good use for these cards. What thing does HD 5450 would be from my research about 2010, and shouldn't that be also ATI? So AMD. These things look really similar. There's not a lot of difference in the looks of them. About a year apart, maybe, I think. Anyway, I'm not really sure what to do with this thing. One thing I definitely would like to do, there's only 4 screws holding this thing in here. But there's no standoffs underneath. I don't know why they did that, but I'd really like to take this and fix that problem. But anyway, I'm not sure. I've got another computer that it's in a decent case, but it's also one that doesn't have a window on it. I like to have a case where I can see inside of it, because to me this looks cool. So the other one's a Z87, and it's only just a year older than the Z97 apparently, but it's a ASRock, and it's one of the ones that's known to have problems. And when I got it, it didn't work, and it was really cheap because they knew it didn't work. I think they get these, sometimes they try and boot them up, and if they don't work, they just, they won't spend too much time on them. It's kind of a weird deal because they used to have a policy where there was absolutely no hard drives allowed, and they wouldn't even sell computers, and that kind of thing. And then they started to give you this little disclaimer that would say it's not their responsibility if you don't delete data off your hard drives. And then they started putting out hard drives. They started putting out computers with hard drives, but then most of the time, that even though they were allowed to do that, they would pull the hard drives out of them. But anyway, you'd get these computers where you could tell they were busy, and they didn't have a lot of time, and or it was too hard for them to remove it. Yeah. They would just not pull it. I bought one. I can't remember how much it was. I think it was like $34. It was fully loaded. A terabyte Samsung SSD, like a 128 Samsung SSD, and the video card, everything. But they have this habit of what they like to do is pull the hard drives, pull the RAM, and pull the video card. And something of it just seems to walk off or something. And then they price the video card separately. Usually as much as the computer. This one, I don't know how it went down. This came from Phoenix. This was $17. It had the 2 dual video cards in it. No RAM. No hard drive. But it was $17. It was you can't really buy a case for that. So, I'm not sure who put this together or why they only have 4 screws in it, but it's been like that obviously for a long time, because this board came out in 2014, and I doubt that anybody bought it that much after that time period. I mean, I would say we would be looking at nothing any later than like 2017. I mean, I wonder, we could probably figure out when it was end of life, but anyway. We get a couple of different cards in here. They're all 4 gigabyte, and I think they're all the same speed. And they're just in there because where else am I going to put them? Kind of like these video cards. Where else am I going to use them? This was a computer that was just running my radio stuff, so I'm not sure if I see a point in putting a better card in here. In fact, I could just go ahead and pull the cards out of it and use the internal graphics, the integrated graphics, and it'll run fine. Draw less power. I had it like that for a while. I don't know what to really do with it. This one also seems to pick up RF from the radio, and you'll hear the USB disconnecting and connecting sound. But this is a decent board because it has the M.2 on it. I don't know if it's SATA only or if it'll run an NVMe, but it has it. I don't know. Those are the new ones are really fast, but I don't really have a big reason to need to switch to those. I'm still kind of like on the fence about all that in the first place because I don't need to like worry about my boot time that much. But if I'm going to be doing something that's going to be requiring having to write and access a lot, then maybe it might be an issue. But also, I think a lot of them get really hot and they burn out and fail. I don't know. So I'm trying to decide what to do with this thing. I do have the cord to use for a video card of a different type. Maybe I could stream with it. I could pop some of the RAM out of it. I could. It'll handle up to 32. But it's got 16 right now. Each one of those is 4. And excuse me for yawning. I picked up 2 sticks yesterday of 8, but I don't know if they're both the same speed. So I could literally just pull those all out and put 2 sticks in there. And honestly, I don't know which is better. 4 sticks running at 16 or 2 sticks running at 16. I mean, I've heard arguments about it. I've also heard that 1 stick at 16 might be better. I'm like, well, how does that make sense? We were always told all this dual channel stuff is the way to go. So, anyway, I kind of dig this computer, but you can't see through the case, and where it's at in the shack you wouldn't be able to anyways because it's on the left side. I don't do any gaming. If I do, it's usually on a console, and I'm usually bored after about 10 minutes. So I just use my computers for streaming and looking stuff up on the internet, running programs for radio stuff, or, you know, I don't know, sometimes photo editing. But man, I'm tired. I don't do anything serious with them, you know. But at the same time, I've got a couple of little tiny mini PCs, and they're too slow. So, these are good for me. They're too old. These are too old for somebody that's into gaming, I would say. But I still think that they can be real useful for anybody that does any kind of whatever, business accounting, storing stuff, accessing the internet, running programs. Um, you know, it's a decent computer to run FT8 and all that. It's a decent computer to have to program radios with chirp. I don't know what else. I mean, you got to really think about what are you going to use the computer for. But most people, it seems like the only thing they want to use the computer for is just gaming. That's all they want to do. They just want to game. And I've just never got into it. So for me, like, I don't know. I'm from a different generation where, we didn't game on computers really. I mean, we kind of did. Because back in the 80s, when computers first came out, we were playing Oregon Trail and different goofy stuff on computers. But at the same time, we had Atari 2600, and then eventually the NES came out. And, it seemed like, to me, computers were a thing for games, like computer games. But they were like kind of regarded as like not all that great. And then when Nintendo came out, it kind of killed the computer gaming thing. To me, it seemed like. But, I don't know, maybe I just didn't see what was going on. So, and I think at that time computers were still kind of expensive and the performance wasn't all that great. So, I think most people were just like into buying a console, and then Sega came out, and that's kind of where I kind of started getting into like living life and doing things, and I wasn't, sitting at home, whereas other people my age were probably, at home playing video games and going to school and doing all of this stuff, and like, I was out skateboarding and running around on the streets and, that kind of stuff. So I wasn't at home playing video games, I missed all that, in the 90s and stuff. I was just like out and about all over the place, all over Seattle, going different places and, skating and doing everything, like I'd have been probably more into photography back then than I would have been like video games. But anyway, it was, I was, going to shows and watching bands play and stuff like that, I just wasn't at home playing with computers. So it's totally possible that during that time period that, the computers were probably more serious than I thought they were, But anyway, it is what it is now. And so this computer here, I guess, was a gaming computer in 2014, I as I read the reviews, I think it was kind of like a no frills, kind of stripped down gaming rig. I don't know. So, Elizabeth likes to play all those old games, or at least she's nostalgic about it. So we put together some old Windows 98 and XP machines just to play like Myst and Riven and those games. Those are actually really kind of interesting how they use like video clips for the game and instead of animation. It was like a really novel way to make a game look really good. But anyway, I still like old stuff, and I go to the thrift store and I'll find, these old computers like this. If they're cheap, I'll buy them because I like them, they're fun to play around with. Really, really old computers are super cool too, like Windows 95 or DOS 2.0 or whatever the hell. Like I would love to run across one of those that works. But I've just always been fascinated with technology in general. Like I'm more of a person that's interested in technology and fiddling with stuff than I am actually um, radio. Like in the 80s, I was interested in CB radios as a kid because it was, electronics. But I was also interested in electronic sets and, you know, TVs and, how they work and all this stuff. I wasn't really as much interested in, like, talking on the radio as I was, like, how this stuff works and, you know, cool, neat little gadgets and things like that. So, and I feel like I sort of kind of take a step back and look, and I think I'm really not that much actually into ham radio, to be honest with you guys. Like, if you follow the channel, I do a lot of stuff with other stuff here. And I spend very little time actually talking on the radio to other people, and I'm actually quite antisocial. If you guys haven't noticed it, I don't like to be on the camera. I don't like to. Well, I don't really get along with other people that well, to be honest with you. I'm always. People irritate me. I mean, I'm actually a pretty irritable person. I don't like the sound of crickets. I don't want to listen to my neighbor's dog bark. I don't want to listen to my neighbors. I don't like it when my kids repeat things over and over. I don't like dealing with old people at the thrift store. I don't like dealing with weird people that come up to me and start talking to me. So not really ham radio material. You know? I'm very blunt and honest, so I don't really understand when people are full of crap to make other people happy. But anyway, what I really enjoy is just fixing stuff, fiddling with stuff, playing with stuff. And I could spend hours doing that every day and just get lost. And I think that there's something to be said about that. If you're one of those kind of people, you know what I'm talking about. It's just fun. So, to me, I'd rather build the computer, fix it, put it together, try it out, than I would want to sit there and play games. It's again kind of the appliance operator term, you know. As far as ham radio goes, I'd rather fiddle with the radio. I don't want to be the appliance operator. Same with the computer. So anyway, I do think that there are a lot of computer people that are appliance operators just like hams. So, we're trying to figure out what to do with this thing here. And also, my mainstreaming computer being a low-profile case, I need the best card that I can get for it, and it's probably one of these. But it seemed like it was causing me grief. And that the integrated graphics seemed to be working better for some silly reason. But what I'm trying to do is get all my cards put away and get everything, like, every computer needs to be, like, completely, ready to go. I've got the other one down here, the Cooler Master. And this has got, like, a 2700K, 2600K. I'm going to put a card in that later today, since I realize there's no card in it. I built the mini computer with the oldest parts that I had laying around, and that has like some crazy, gigantic MSI card that was like really cheap. That's like a total power hog. Like it's got like 8 pins on the video card. Like you need like 2 of these plugs that have 4 on them, and I'll put like the biggest, nastiest old power supply that I had. It was like some weird Extreme 800 they call it or something. And so I got all that stuff into that case, and I've got a couple of other weird computer cases that would be fun to just build weird crap with what I got laying on. But this one here is the workhorse. I need to put what's going to work the best in it. I don't really see the point of the dual video cards. I'm not going to run dual monitors. But if they would mirror the output, I could use my capture card to share my display of SDR Play. And that would be great. Otherwise, the second easiest way to do that would be just OBS Studio capture the screen of the SDR Play. But I have not been able to get these cards to do anything other than where they split the screen in half. And so I don't want two split monitors. I want just to run, like, you know, the same thing on both of them. And it's not giving me the option in the software to do it. Maybe a different card would work to do that, and that would be kind of interesting to do. So maybe if I put one of the 750 Ti's in here, then maybe I can try to do that with it. And then I got to figure out a home for these other two little cards. I could put one of them in my other computer, the streaming one. I believe if I look up the specs on that computer, it's got like something like 128 megabytes of internal RAM on the embedded graphics card. So I would think that changing that would probably be a good idea. But when I ran this other card in here, the R5 220, it seemed like it didn't run right. So I don't know. I'm just over here playing Tetris, guys. So if you got any suggestions what I should do, or what would work, let me know.